is the way. Education 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 is the way.
My name is Wanjiku. I'm a registered consulting engineer with the Engineers Board of Kenya. I want to talk a little bit more about what is education without borders. Education without borders is dissemination of information to all people who are able to appreciate the content of education and to also appreciate that there is no end to education. Education at any level is important, and therefore education without borders is educating or disseminating information without a syllabus, but based on the knowledge that most of the senior professionals have, but it is kept in their shelves. It doesn't help anybody to have so much information and it's not shared. Therefore, the creation of this channel, Education Without Borders, is meant to do just that, to disseminate information to young people, to middle-aged people, even to senior people, especially in matters professional. You'll be a bit biased in engineering, but that will not be limited to only engineering. It will expand to other areas of professionalism. On the engineering part, there will be the theme on construction projects. There are very many people who sometimes don't understand, especially the young people, early career engineers and professionals need to know the role of the very many players on a construction project. There are very many players, including, firstly, the client is the owner of the project, and all the players are answerable to the client because the client is the one who has a vision, and the other players are there to implement and make sure that the vision of the client is accomplished. Some of these many players are, for example, there is the architect. The architect is the master builder. He's the one who interacts at first with the client to come up with the concept, to agree and interpret the ideas that the client has and put it on paper. There are other important players at that stage who are, for example, after the concepts and the scheme designs have been developed, you have the engineer, the structural engineers, the mechanical engineer, the electrical engineer, services engineer, who comes and puts their input because a project requires all these players. There are other players who come into play. Specifically, I would want to highlight among them the quantity surveyor. The quantity surveyor is the one who is able to package that information, the requirements, the drawings and everything else, and put it into quantities themselves. Quantity surveyor is also in charge of drawing the contract, because remember, the architect, the engineers and the quantity surveyors will not be the ones who will do the actual building. The building or the project will be done by a contractor. A contractor now is the person who implements the contract, who goes to the field, who takes the machinery to the field, who employs the workers, and they make sure that what was anticipated in the designs is put on the ground. Now, the contractor comes along with very many other people that need the support. There are people like the clerk of works, for example, who works also on the site and employed by the client to take care of the client's interest on the ground. The day-to-day implementation of the project is by the contractor, but on the contractor's site, there is a clerk of works. On the contractor side, They are the site agents, the site supervisors, who are then able to manage the workers, to pay the workers, to make sure the materials are ordered and delivered, so that when the consultants, which involves the architects, the quantity surveyors, the engineers, when they come to sites, because they visit the site, remember they are not based on the site, they visit the site maybe after 2 weeks or so, after a month. When they come, they need to see work done. So the people who implement that work are very important players in making sure the project progresses. So there are people who supply the materials also, they have a role to play. How do they manage? What are the regulations in place? What challenges do they encounter in the process of implementing what they are supposed to do? That is the thematic area of construction. The other area that Education Without Borders will be covering is in the area of women professionals. And this will not be limited to only women engineers. There are very many other professionals who women engineers interact with. There are women quantity surveyors, there are women architects as well. There are also women suppliers on site. There are women who supply the materials. There are interior designers are also women. We ought to dedicate part of this education to explaining or highlighting the role that women play on a project, and the challenges they meet, the unique circumstances within which they work would be of a lot of interest. And this information will be used to mentor young girls who look forward to joining some of these careers. You don't want to have information sit in your laptop, sit in your phone, sit in your shelf gathering dust. Is not useful to you, therefore you need to disseminate it. So the so-called she for she mentorship, which I'm glad to say that the women's chapter of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya has a very, very thriving and active mentorship program. Some of the information that will be disseminated and very useful will be found on this channel. There will be other areas, for example, some emerging areas. What about an emerging area like artificial intelligence? Sometimes we hear of artificial intelligence, yet we don't know what it is. And that's where the world is going. The world is going AI way. Therefore, we need to be equipped, we need to know, we need to ask ourselves, in my day-to-day solving of a problem, what's the role of artificial intelligence? And therefore, I'm very glad to say that Education Without Borders is a channel that will be covering these areas that are hardly covered in a classroom. They are not even on a curriculum, and yet they are the things that make our work sometimes in the field very, very challenging. Welcome to this channel. Feel free to interact, feel free to share it, to like it, to subscribe, and to give a comment so that together we can educate one another. The other part of this, the title of this channel is by Wanjiku the engineer. Why this title? Why this name? We know that the name Wanjiku, as Kenyans, any Kenyans will know Wanjiku is a name that was branded by our late President Daniel Arap Moi. And it means the common mwananchi, a very important person. Wanjiku is a very important person, the common mwananchi. And it's even more interesting when this common mwananchi is the one educating without borders. The other thing is that Wanjiku is also my name. You remember I introduced myself as Sifila Wanjiku. Wanjiku is the name I was given by my parents when I was born. I was named after a person who I loved very much. God rest her soul. Her name was Wanjiku. I have also young girls, beautiful little girls, who are named after me. So I am representing 3 generations here of disseminating knowledge. And I would want and pray that when this small, that generation Wanjikus grow and become teenagers and ready to visit these channels, they will find content of good quality. Therefore, Education Without Borders is here as a legacy channel, educative channel, and welcome. Again, don't forget to like it, to share it, and to subscribe. And give me a comment. I would really appreciate to interact with you. Thank you. Bye. See you next time.
Education is the way. Education is the way. Education is the way. Education is the way.